Hey guys, Philip here with MD Fit. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about DEXA scans. Particularly, we're talking about how useful DEXA is when it comes to evaluating body composition, body fat, lean mass, and things of the sort. I wanted to make this video because there's a lot of misinformation out there about how efficacious and how accurate DEXA really is when it comes to measuring your body fat percentage. There's a lot of people saying that essentially it's the gold standard, it's the holy grail because it's used in a lot of research contexts. And I've heard numbers being thrown around essentially saying that DEXA is about 1% or has a 1% standard of error, meaning that it will be inaccurate at most up to 1% of your body fat, which I can already tell you is categorically not true. And so today we're going to dive into a real piece of scientific literature and see what it says about how accurate DEXA is. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background for what DEXA was developed for, how DEXA actually works, and then we're going to talk about the study that compares DEXA to a 4-component model and talks us through how accurate DEXA is, as well as what are the factors that throws a DEXA scan's accuracy off. So without further ado, let's get into the video. This is the study that we're going to be referencing. It will be linked down in the description below. But first, some background. DEXA stands for Dual Energy X-ray Absorptiometry, and it was originally developed for the assessment of bone mass. But now it is widely used to measure fat mass, fat-free mass, and now body fat percentage. While it is very accurate when it comes to measuring bone mass, DEXA relies on assumptions about tissue hydration, body size, and tissue composition that may not hold true across all different populations. This is where the 4-component model comes in that DEXA is being compared to. The 4-component model is considered a reference method in the absence of chemical body composition analysis, or MRI, because it measures total body water and bone mineral content directly, thus minimizing some more of the theoretical assumptions that DEXA makes. But this by no means makes the 4-component model perfect. So how does DEXA work? DEXA works by sending 2 different energy X-ray beams through the body and measuring how much each beam is weakened or attenuated. Bone, fat, and lean tissue all attenuate these 2 different energy X-ray beams at different strengths. Bone attenuates the beams much stronger than fat and lean tissue, while fat and lean tissue are then estimated from the remaining kind of soft tissue signal that is received by the receiver on the bottom of the DEXA scan. Now, importantly, DEXA assumes that lean tissue has a constant water and protein content, which is not always true either within an individual or amongst a group of individuals. Some factors that have been shown to cause variations within these assumptions, such as age, obesity, disease state, are you sick or are you healthy currently while getting the scan, are you in a weight loss phase, are you in a maintenance phase, or are you in a weight gaining phase, have been shown to throw off DEXA's fat and lean estimates because these protein and water content assumptions are no longer being met. So the present study also looked at previous literature to examine the accuracy and see what other people have said about DEXA's accuracy when it comes to body composition, with one study finding an overestimation of 28% body fat in adolescent females. So moving on to the 4-component model. What is the reference method that we're comparing our DEXA scan to? So the 4-component model is by no means perfect in and of itself. The best gold standard method to truly measure body composition and body fat would be something like an MRI, where you can look at the body's tissues down to the voxel level, which is essentially a 3D pixel, and then you can determine just how much body fat versus lean tissue versus bone mass somebody has. In the absence of full body MRI, which is not really something that we can do on a large scale, the 4-component model is thought to be better than just a pure DEXA scan because it directly measures using high fidelity methods bone mineral content, body weight, total body water, and body volume. It separates the body into 4 components: mineral, water, fat, and protein. So not to get too into the weeds, but we're going to quickly talk about how each of these different components is measured within the 4-component model. So total body water is assessed via deuterium dilution. Deuterium is a heavier isotope of hydrogen. Hydrogen is typically 1 proton, deuterium is 1 proton and 1 neutron, so it's about twice as heavy. And subjects will drink this deuterated water It equilibrates throughout the body just like normal water, and then samples are taken, either urine or saliva or blood, and then the ratio of deuterated water to normal water within the body is calculated, and then based off some fancy math equations, we can determine what the body's total water stores are. Body volume can be measured based off of two different types of method. First, the air displacement plethysmonography, or BOD-POD, like everybody knows it, or the hydrostatic weighing where you do a dunk tank. Bone mineral content is assessed via DEXA because DEXA truly is like a gold standard when it comes to assessing bone mineral content, just due to the fact that bone really stands out to the DEXA, and it's not hard for the DEXA scan to differentiate between bone and soft tissue. And then finally, fat mass is calculated using the following equation. Don't ask me how it's derived, but that's how it was used. So what are the results of the study? DEXA measured body weight was significantly underestimated in obese women and children, and DEXA measured fat mass showed the following patterns. It was overestimated in all adults, it was overestimated in all obese boys, and underestimated in non-obese boys. A table in the study right here shows that variables such as age, sex, and BMI significantly increased DEXA estimated fat mass. So what does this mean? This is really interesting. This shows how different factors such as what age you are, what gender you are, and how heavy you are essentially can throw off the accuracy of DEXA. And it shows how the bigger you get, the more you're overestimated, and the smaller you are or the leaner you are, the more you're going to be underestimated. So a lot of the times when you see crazy low body fats on even a DEXA scan, that could potentially be because there's a source of error that's throwing the DEXA scan off. And we're going to talk about why some of these things can happen. So what are the problems with DEXA? How do these problems arise? First, there's the lean tissue hydration assumption that we talked about. DEXA assumes that all lean tissues are hydrated in the same way, but hydration varies with age, health status. Are you currently sick or are you not? What is your activity status? Are you highly active? What does your diet look like? How much sodium have you had? Have you had enough to drink that day? Have you sweated a lot? What climate do you live in? What is your genetic predisposition to storage of total body water? All these things can affect the hydration status of a lean tissue. Another source of error is body size and tissue depth. DEXA accuracy changes with tissue depth. With thin bodies, the X-ray can pass a lot easier, and with thick bodies, the X-rays scatter more. So thus, as body size increases, DEXAs can become less accurate. Another source of error is differences in DEXA technologies. Certain DEXA scans use fan beam technology, while others use pencil beam. And these are different types of X-rays that we're not going to get into, but they have different scanning patterns as well as different processing patterns. And so just one certain type of DEXA scan can produce different results from another. And that's why we see the most pronounced inaccuracy within DEXA around places such as the hips and spine, which are very bony. Another small source of error would be the head and soft tissues around the head. Most DEXAs do not properly calculate soft tissues in the head, leading to small potential errors, but I wouldn't necessarily worry about this too much. Finally, there's also differences in manufacturer-specific algorithms. Different manufacturers use different formulas and estimate bone and fat differently. So two DEXA scans can produce different results purely based off the errors that they use. So this is the part that you guys have all been waiting for. What is the magnitude of error? Just how inaccurate is DEXA, or can DEXA really be when it comes to looking at your body fat percentage? Well, on the group level, where DEXA would be more accurate, particularly like in something like a research context, we have seen inaccuracies around up to 2% body fat. But on the individual level, when you go get a DEXA scan at a facility, it can be equivalent of up to 4 to 6% body fat. So what it's saying is that essentially it could say 10%, but it could be as off as 16%. You could truly be 16%. Or conversely, you could be 4%. But most people are never reaching that level of leanness. So what does this imply? Well, DEXA may not be the most reliable method to track small changes in body composition, but it can be used as an efficient and an effective tool to look at trends over time. In a research context, while a larger sample size can improve DEXA's accuracy, there are still a lot of factors and issues with the usage of DEXA scans that are still important to consider when finalizing your results. So in conclusion, what does this mean? DEXA is a very convenient and widely used tool that shouldn't be disregarded, but it has important issues and sources of error that can confound its results. So when you see an unbelievable DEXA reading, that doesn't mean you have to take it as gospel. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if there's something else that you're curious about, please feel free to drop it down in the comments below. My name's Philip with MD Fit. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.